I am here with Mayor Muriel Bowser, Mayor of the District of Columbia. I'm so glad to meet with you this morning. It's a lot on your plate, a lot of questions we have, a lot on your plate.
Yes.
And, just trying to bring information to our readers about what their concerns about the District of Columbia. And I think I'll start there. What do you foresee will be the play when it comes to RFK?
What do you mean?
We have plans. I know people want to see the team, but there's always this thing about stadiums, and we should, the government should be spending more money on schools or what have you than stadiums.
Yeah, the government should be doing both.
Mm-hmm.
So can you imagine a city where we didn't have Nats Park?
Not anymore.
Right. Right. And do you know that was the same argument 20 years ago during that debate?
Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk a little bit about what the plan is, though, for that area, because it's not going to be just a stadium.
No, it's 177 acres. A stadium, we think, would take 20 acres from there. So we will be able to really master plan like a little entertainment district with obviously sports, but also housing and other job creating opportunities. I think the park space is going to be breathtaking, right on the river. It'll be an opportunity for us to really activate the Anacostia in the same way that we've activated the Potomac, and really create a new area. There's nothing there now, so we're not displacing anything or anybody, and we get to create new space in the city. And I was asked a really, I thought, incredible question at a meeting yesterday when somebody asked me, well, what's your plan to raise revenue? This is kind of government speak for raise taxes. Mm-hmm. And I was like, my plan to raise revenue is to increase growth. That's how you get more revenue without taking it out of your pocket. Mm-hmm. We add more residents. We welcome more businesses. And that's how we create sustainable growth for the city.
And so that development that you foresee happening along the Anacostia, will it be on both sides? I know we talked about where the stadium is, but what happens on the other side of the river?
On the other side, our real focus close to the river is Poplar, on Poplar Point. And Poplar Point is finally ripe. We've been working for years on this agreement between the Navy and the developer and the National Park Service. And I think we're real close to getting there. So, and there's a lot of interest. We put out an RFP at Poplar, we call it RFI, to gain interest. We have we have one real big destination provider who's interested. We have to do some environmental work there still, but I think we're very close. Poplar is a wonderful site. It's proximity to Anacostia Park. It's great. It's close to a metro, close to parking. That is the kind of big destination development that I see there. The Bridge District has worked well. That new residential is coming up out of the Bridge District. We've had an interim use with the Sandlot, and so we expect that to continue. And working with and preserving the park space and making the Anacostia Park more accessible, I think would be great. I think we have this beautiful gem of a park, and you could be just on, kind of the outside and not know it's there. And so we think some enhancements to entering Anacostia Park would be important.
Well, I don't know if you've seen my video, but, I like to walk in Anacostia.
Oh, good.
And so I keep showing people how beautiful the park is and what happens to their plastic bottles. We made them away.
Got it. Okay.
There's little pockets of places, but the park is beautiful.
The park is lovely.
Well, so.
And
I know you did your fit. Why do you do that every year? That fits. Yeah. I mean, I know people have this New Year's resolution where they get fit, and January 1, you've got hundreds of people out there with you. But why do you do that?
Years ago, I got into doing 5Ks. Okay. And it is personally, okay. And I haven't been doing it lately, but I just really loved it, and I noticed how there are not many events in the city that are truly citywide. Do you know what I'm saying? That are And if you go to 5Ks, you see all of Washington. And especially the ones that we put on. They're very diverse. And they cost us something to put on because we need support for them. People like music and t-shirts. But for the bang for our buck that we get by bringing Washingtonians together from across the city, all backgrounds, young and old, different abilities, to do something fun that's healthy also. We love doing it, and it's a great way to start the new year. And people are looking for things to do in the new year. We also did one that I want to we'll bring back one. We did one across the Frederick Douglass Memorial Bridge to open it.
Right.
And people loved it. It's a beautiful bridge, but also it's an opportunity. They do it on the Bay Bridge. Like, it's not that many times that you get as a pedestrian to use. So I think we'll do it again. And we've done our 11th now. In the last 2 years, we added a kids run. The first year, I think it was 75 kids. This year was over 400 kids. So it's a way to incorporate healthy living, being outdoors, meeting your neighbors, getting some services, because we have, our service providing agencies come out to give out information. So it's a good time. And it exposes people to different parts of the city. So we've done it at Anacostia Park a couple times. One, it was bitterly cold. It was cold. We've done it at East Potomac Park. We've done it around here at Freedom Plaza. The first one I did up in near Oyster Adams School. I got a lot of grief for that one. But we've done it all over.
I'm going to wrap a lot of things into this one question because, one, I think you and a lot of people in the city are celebrating the fact that crime is down, right? And I think when you talk about healthy living, that feeds into a healthy environment and a healthy city.
Yes.
But crime is still an issue.
It is.
Housing is still an issue.
Yeah.
Education is still an issue in DC. We're seeing progress all across the board. But, how would you assess or grade kind of where the city is right now in those areas? I know it's a really broad question, but just trying to wrap it all in there because they feed crime, right? And
Well, let me start with education. Just objectively, we got the nation's report card again. Our city is outpacing urban school districts around the nation, like just full stop. I think the story of the renaissance of public education in this city is remarkable. I think our decision to make the mayor and council accountable for running the schools and oversight for the schools has made all the difference. I think our investment in teachers has made all the difference. Our investment in quality school facilities has made all the difference. And the taxpayers have stepped up to the plate and said, we're willing to do that, we want to do it. And it has changed the trajectory of our city. Having said that, it's still too wide a difference in experiences for kids depending on their parents' income. And that's not just the story of DC, that's the story of the world, unfortunately. And so we do everything that we can to close those gaps at school. But we know that kids that are coming from more affluent families, more experiences, more words when they start school have a different experience than kids who do not. So we try like all we can to close those gaps.
truancy, what
We've done better this year. And part of this truancy story, that we have a whole system of enforcement, and that's gonna work somewhat. But we need to be supporting families in a way that there's a high value in education. The families have what they need, the supports that they need early enough to help their children be at school. And so that's not a kind of a silver bullet solution, but we work on it every day and we see it improving. But what all the educators will tell you, and our former chancellor, Kaya Henderson, told me this once, and it was illustrative of kind of what we have to do with all our schools, is there is a kid who will miss all his classes except with teacher X. like, really, say more about that. She's like, that teacher has engaged that child, challenged that child, turned that child on to learning. So that child may miss 7 classes, but not with teacher X. So it's like we have to strive for that experience where children really want to go to school.
We were talking about the things that are contributing to crime, although crime has been going down. But what are some of those things that you think are working?
Well, I think what we saw over several years was we really had changed this policy environment. We changed the laws in the city so much away from accountability for violent crime that we weren't punishing violent offenders. And I think that led to more crime, more guns, and more violence. And I think part of our reassessment of the law was to make sure that people who use guns in the city have to be held accountable for using guns. That includes adults and that includes young people. And it's not a targeted, let's lock everybody up approach, but it is a promise that if you use guns, you're going to be held accountable. And because we've been consistently doing that, even holding people pre-trial, I think that we've seen the use of guns go down in our city dramatically.
Do you think that Trump's pardon of those 2 D.C. police officers, what do you think that says to our police force as well as the residents?
Well, I think it's a very complicated situation, and our DC jury spoke. They heard all the facts, and so I think I've always respected that. Although I have to say I always had concerns about murder charges being levied against officers for a pursuit that went wrong. And someone died, so there has to be accountability. And our system will provide administrative accountability for employees that do the wrong thing.
Last question, Maribel. You also play a role in a very special person's life that's different than the role you play for the District of Columbia, and that is that of mother.
Yes.
Tell me about raising a little girl in the District of Columbia. What are some of the joys that you?
Well, it's like
challenges.
It is the thrill of my life.
How old is she?
My daughter is 6.5.
Okay.
And she's just an amazing little girl, smart, but you do use a different part of your brain and your heart when you are trying to make sure your kid has everything. Question yourself as to if you're doing the right things, and just really hoping that you're doing everything you can for your daughter. But it gives me a different vantage point of how our systems work for families in the city, from everything from schools to economic development to parks. And so those are all important to having a great city. A city needs families, and we need people who can afford. We need our people to be able to afford to raise their kids in the city. And so that's why we do everything about affordable housing, but everything else that makes city living affordable, from kids ride-free to affordable camps, to having entertainment options in all parts of the city for kids and families.
Where do you come to get all your news? Washington Informer. Where do you come to get all your news? Washington Informer. Where do you come to get all your news?
This is Win TV News, bringing you the news that matters. The cafeteria at Powell Elementary in Northwest DC buzzed with chatter as markers and thin bamboo sticks covered tables as students drew on small pentagon-shaped pieces of paper directed by Mikio Toki, who traveled from Tokyo to teach the children through the National Cherry Blossom Festival's Kites in the Classroom program. Over the next 2-week span, students from Powell Elementary and several DC and Prince George's County schools will learn how to design, build, and fly their own kites while exploring the physics of flight and ancient Japanese art, according to Toki. Some of the students may also get a chance to test their kites at the Blossom Kite Festival on the National Mall on Saturday. A group of athletic directors employed by Prince George's County Public Schools have filed a lawsuit against the Maryland County school system over charges of wage theft, accusing them of promising to pay them one rate of taking on additional full-time teaching duties, but then paying them the same amount of substitute teachers. The lawsuit filed by 7 athletic directors describes what amounts to be a bait and switch when it comes to compensation for the 2022 to 2023 school year. Before July 1st, 2022, athletic directors split their AD and teaching duties 50-50 and got a 10% bump in salary for taking on both roles. But after that date, the position of athletic director became a full-time job in and of itself, and the extra 10% pay went away. Under state law, if the athletic directors are successful in their lawsuit, they will be entitled for up to triple their withheld wages. As part of a move to revitalize community resources in D.C.'s Ward 5, Mayor Bowser, alongside other district leaders, broke ground on the Fort Lincoln Recreation Center and Early Childhood Education Center on Monday. The ceremony was part of a project designed to bring vital facilities to the Fort Lincoln area, as the Fort Lincoln project is a $49 million investment covering 44,000 square foot space to enhance recreational and educational opportunities for residents. The upcoming center will feature many facilities, including a full gymnasium, a senior lounge, multi-purpose room, arts and crafts spaces, a teen lounge, and ample on-site parking.
Hi, I'm Diana Mayhew, President and CEO of the National Cherry Blossom Festival. So proud to be here today at Gallery Space at Gallery Place, downtown DC. We have here on display 63 pairs of beautifully designed Air Force One by DC students, middle school and high school.
My name is Nick Iwazo. It was like something new and I like it, and I wish I do it in the future.
This is a great opportunity for my son to come and design a shoe. This is his shoe right here. He is an 8th grader at Hart Middle School, so I thought it was a great opportunity for the school to bring this to the kids.
My name is Lloyd Ferguson, known as Flaggy Picasso. I'm here today because I was one of the artists for the Bench DC and National Cherry Blossom Festival to help kids bring the vision to life. Lots of work has gone into this project. We started out with 80 pairs of shoes. We had to prep them, tape them, we had to clean them up, make them look nice and embellish them. So it was honestly a lot of work behind the scenes, but I love it though.
This is my shoe. My inspiration was honestly the colors and components of like a cherry blossom tree. So like the green here, that was like for the leaves. And then like I did like some flowers. And then I have the Japanese flag in because Japan was originally the country that like donated the cherry blossoms to DC. I don't know. I feel like I definitely would design something in the future. Not necessarily shoes, but like shirts.
David Zambrano. I go by Dez. I have a company called Dez Customs. DC and creativity go hand in hand. A lot of times, programs like this just don't exist or don't happen enough so that kids can explore that side of themselves. And I think any opportunity you have to allow a child to be creative is extremely important. It can change their lives.
Where do you come to get all your news? You already know the answer. It is the Washington Informer, which is celebrating 60 years all year long. So without further ado, I want to bring on Larry Lee, publisher of the Sacramento Observer, who I just learned actually is celebrating 62 years of publishing news that we all can use. And then we have Lafayette Barnes, publisher of the Washington Informer Bridge. And actually, Lafayette is celebrating, he's, so humble, but he's celebrating 10 years, a decade as a publisher. And we are so proud of him and really inspired by his journey with the bridge. And so I'm looking forward to hearing a little bit more about that. And last but certainly not least, our amazing publisher of the Washington Informer, who, I don't know how she has so memories of the past 60 years when she's only celebrating her 30th birthday this year. But we are so thankful for her and her fearless, amazing, innovative, visionary leadership. Denise Rolark Barnes, thank you so much for being with us, as always. I want to reflect on this journey in the game that for you all has been legacy. And so we'll start with you, Larry. And this question goes to all three of you, so think about it. What's one of your earliest and favorite memories of engaging with the newspaper, in your case, the Sacramento Observer?
Oh, wow. Well, thanks again, Misha, for allowing me to join you guys, for inviting me. It's always good to see the Barnes crew, and of course, see you as well too, and to be with the Washington Informer family. Let's see. So, what was some of the earliest memories? So, my story, of course, is not unlike a lot of other publishers, except that I literally grew up in the business. The paper is older than I am. And so probably the earliest memories are of me being a little kid in the newsroom and the office, probably causing mischief. I tended to be a little bit of a prankster as a little kid. So I would do things around professional working adults that may have been funny to me, may have been annoying to them, and they couldn't do anything to me because I was the boss's son. I don't know, but I would do silly stuff like hide in certain parts of the office, the dark room, and scare people when they went into work or do something silly like that. Those are some of my young little kid memories. And then also, really being around the family is really the thing that probably stands out more than anything, because we really were a family business. My dad, my mom ran the newspaper, but my grandmother worked there. I had cousins and aunts and uncles and brothers that all worked in the newsroom. So it was a family place. So it's kind of where we all went and had family memories. So I have a lot of those memories that go along with some of the growing up around the business.
That sounds fun. Little Larry in the newsroom.
Yeah,
Larry,
yes. Yeah.
Miss Denise, how about you? Were you picking on folks in dark rooms?
No, I mean, my dad started the paper when I was 9. And, this is where I spent my summers. I lived with my mom, but I spent the summers with my father and my stepmother. And every day I would go to work with them. And he put me to work. Larry, you can appreciate this. One of the things he had me do, besides going to the bank, I used to go and make the bank deposits for the paper every day. Fortunately, if we had bank deposits every day. But my job was to go through, let's say I hadn't been there in a year. So that the beginning of that next summer, my job was to write down every ad that published in the newspaper, the page number, the size of the ad, and how much that ad cost.
Ooh, I love that.
Wow.
That was my job. And I really wish I had those pieces of paper. But we're kids, right, Larry? They give you busy work and you get it done in what they think is going to take you a month, and you get it done in 3 days.
Right.
So I had to do that. And the same thing with the subscribers. Because of my father, we didn't have computers then. So the subscriptions, the labels for the subscriptions were done on a typewriter. And so my father wanted me to type up enough labels for 52 weeks, each one of the subscribers. Well, I discovered carbon paper.
I was going to say, yeah, popular or something. Absolutely. Go ahead.
And I had I think it was Greg's typing book. And so I would practice, and that was my test for myself. How quickly could I type these labels? So that was another 3 or 4 days. So, I mean, those are the things, because it was just me. There were 2 offices. We shared the office with another gentleman, a guy named Mr. Smith. And, it was just the 3 of us in there. So no playing time, Larry, because there was nothing to do except, and we were in downtown DC. So my trips to the bank normally took about 2 hours because people that had summer jobs, kids were working in the stores up and down 7th Street. I knew all of them, and I knew the owners. And there were certain restaurants I would go into, and I knew all the people that were the servers. And so every day, I'm almost playing politician. I'm going up and down 7th Street, just saying hi to people and having conversations. So those are sort of my earliest memories of working here, and probably until I was about 15 or 16.
So you were an official employee.
Well, when we celebrated our 50th anniversary, and I've got to find it now. I don't know what I did with it, but yeah, I have the first check my father wrote me,
Wow.
for a week's worth of work, $25. I mean, tell me, I was rolling.
I know that's right. I know that's right.
Lafayette is shaking his head. Is it because you might have needed a little bit more than 25 for your dollars for your work, Lafayette? No, that sounds like the days, Miss Denise. Lafayette, tell me about your earliest memories with the Washington Informer.
Well, that's quite a memory.
He's like, oh, now those are the memories.
Yeah. But I think he's having some computer problems. I'm not sure. But I think about what Larry said, and when Lafayette and Desmond would come to the office as kids, it was like a playground. I mean, they were balling up paper, and the trash cans were the basketball courts, and it was tough. But I had to have them there, and they made the best of their time there, even though we weren't necessarily doing journalism.
Yeah, and to be honest, I mean, the playtime was generally when Dad was gone for a meeting. It was like as soon as my dad left, it was that might have been when I started to do that kind of stuff. But yes, the busy work. I was doing like you said, Denise, you're doing ad sales. You're doing you're learning how to edit. You're learning how to design pages, take photographs. Do office administrative work, all that stuff. So there were so many times that I would make a call or I would answer the phone, and people, as I'm 7, 8, 9 years old, and people thought I was a woman on the phone just because of my high pitched kid voice. So that came with it.
I love it. I love it. So, when did you all sort of make the transition from working with the paper as a child to more official positions to publisher? How did that moment happen for you all? And we'll start with you this time, Miss Denise.
Oh, okay. So, I went to Hampton Institute at the time and majored in political science. My plan was to go to law school. I had no plans at all to work for the newspaper. Wasn't the best student. Changed my major after my first year to mass media, and some things happened historically as it related to the country that made me realize I needed to be back in DC, where the heartbeat of the news was taking place. So I came back, went to Howard, and as a student at Howard School of Communications, I was working at the newspaper, doing the things that Larry's talking about doing, writing stories, editing, just putting the newspaper together. And I did that even through law school. I became the editor of Howard University's law school newspaper. And it was really at that point when I realized that I really liked this business. Mm-hmm. And so I finished law school in 1980, started working with my dad at the paper. And of course, many know he died in 1994. And that's when I stepped in as publisher. So, again, we had a small staff, so titles really never meant much to me. Because I probably had about 10 titles. So, but yeah, I mean, becoming publisher really came all of the responsibility, and that happened in 1994.
Wow. So I mean, you've had some big milestones in your journey along the way. This is 31 years in the publishing game for you, which is really amazing. Barry, how about you? What was that transition like for you?
I celebrate the fact that we make history every week. So
That's
Denise,
true.
you're making history every week. But
That's
so for me, not that much different than Denise, except I think probably the only thing, I'm the youngest of three boys. My oldest brother is deceased now. My middle brother, and we're all very spread out. There's 17 years distance between my oldest brother and myself, and so I think my ascension into leadership at the Observer kind of came uh, because of the combination of having had parents who tried to get the boys involved in the family business and it not really sticking, and then me looking for and watching the Observer during a really I don't want to say our heyday because I feel like our heyday is still here, but during the heyday of newspapering, right? So I grew up 70s and 80s, and newspapering was a big deal. It was an industry that was very exciting to be a part of and to watch. Just like Denise is saying, she's seeing how in the 80s that she needs to be in DC and all that. And so I think that that was something that was very attractive to me as a young person. It really came down. There was a meeting, you could call it, family meeting, that my parents had with me when I was about 18. I think at this time in their life, because they were older, they were just trying to decide what to do with the business, if they were going to sell it. I know it kind of coincided with us having to kind of leave out of one of our buildings, the building that we had at the time, which I think was a little bit starting to fall apart. And so dad, who was in real estate, was also trying to figure out what were going to be his next moves. And so they sat me down and asked me if I thought I would be interested in coming back after college to be a part of the family business. And I naively said yes because I didn't want to see anything happen to the business. And so I said yes. And people ask me all the time, did that give you kind of a level of responsibility that was more than you should expect or more than you wanted? And really my response oftentimes is that it gave me purpose, right? So at 18, then starting to go to college, the idea was, okay, what am I going to learn and bring back home to the family business and bring back to the industry of the Black press? I was always committed to the Black press, even though I loved media, I loved all kinds of stuff media, but I was always going to bring my, as LeBron said, bring my talents back to the Observer. And so all through school, I went to San Jose State, and I got accepted to Howard. I was going to go to Howard, and that's a different story for a different show why I didn't get to go to Howard. But I ended up going to San Jose State and learned all the things I could. Hadn't worked at the Portland Oregonian. And even then they were saying, you're going to take your this work back to your family business. And so came back in 1997 and worked alongside my parents and officially ascended to publisher in 2015.
Lafayette, are you officially with us?
I'm here. Sorry about that.
Yay. No worries. We know the technology can be funny. I was having issues earlier. So I'll sort of combine the past two questions for you briefly, which is, some of your early memories with the Informer, and what was that shift for you where you said, okay, I love the paper. let me now think about publishing something myself and bringing the bridge to us a decade ago.
Certainly. So, I was just like I think Larry was explaining, I could hear a bit of what he was saying about, being born into the paper, initially starting out as perhaps like a pest around the office, but then, gaining interest through basically osmosis, just, observing the photographers, seeing the cool pictures. Back in the day, we used to get like these packages from like when the book would come out or like a movie would come out. So we get like a poster or like an action figure or, some type of cool swag or whatever from different, activations that were happening around the country. So I know I was like, wow, this is cool. Like we got access, we get free stuff. Like it's really cool. And eventually, I started to delve into photography just on a personal, in my personal time, and learn a lot about photography through the folks at the paper. And then that sort of grew into, me like freelancing as a photographer and then videographer and then throwing events and just like, creating my own world with the skills that I was learning at the paper, and eventually ended up collaborating with the paper, and now we've been doing the bridge for about 10 years. I think, what was the second question you asked?
That was it.
Okay.
How did that shift happen? So, I love that you said it was almost through osmosis. It was so much a part of you. And again, I've been able to see a little bit of the journey for you, and you've always, again, been able to bring some of your talents to us in such an inspiring way and to help us elevate. Which I guess leads to my next question is, how do you feel the publications have grown under your contributions in leadership? And why don't we start with you, Lafayette, since you wear 40 different hats at the bridge and then about 35 at the Informer. So tell us about that for you.
Well, I think it's a team effort. I mean, it is a team effort, so I can't take really any particular credit, but as we've seen a digital transformation happen over the past, 15 to 20 years, and that's been the story of my life. So, when I was in junior high school, nobody had a cell phone, and now everybody uses a cell phone for everything. So, and that has sparked, all sorts of new types of content that we take for granted. So video, photography, social media, and then just like the speed of content and the sort of data analytic aspect of being able to make data-driven decisions. So, my major was marketing at Howard University. I became a graphic designer for a company in Alexandria for about 5 years after that, and learned a lot about the corporate side of marketing and content creation. So I hope I've been able to, add some of that skill into the business. The bridge I think of as like a prototyping space for ideas that the Informer might be interested in, or ideas that I have that, might need some proof of concept before I'm able to introduce them to the Informer. So, we've definitely taken a lead on our video production and I guess like our influencer strategy and, things that, have sort of become more important and relevant. And honestly, were created, within the past 15 to 20 years. So I would say that, I'm proud of, creating energy around those ideas and assisting wherever I can to try to make those ideas happen in all of our businesses.
We can't ignore where we are in this political climate. And the Black press, as you have been articulating to us in our meetings, has played a critical role historically in informing people what's happening and really being the truth tellers. But we know today it's playing a really crucial role, particularly when you have an administration who's trying to control the press. And so I want to know, um, what is the importance of the Informer, the Bridge, the Sacramento Observer in your respective communities, but also the importance of the Black press in general and where we are today. And Larry, we'll start with you.
Wow, that's a lot. I think
It's a heavy one.
yeah, it's all right though, because it's the work that we do, right? I was telling someone jokingly, this is a profession we've chosen, right? And it is like Lafayette said, it changes every day, and that is something that I think that we are driven to be a part of in a way that is reflective of the needs of our communities. Um, you know, Denise and I, again, and Lafayette as well too, but we've spent so many years in this work, and the work is journalism. It's small business, but then it's also advocacy, right? And it's all of those hats. And so I think as Black press, members of the Black press, we are called to speak truth to power. We're called to advocate on behalf of our communities in a way that is truthfully and healthy for our communities. And so the work doesn't stop. It doesn't really matter who or what an administration is doing. We're going to have to continue to fight that fight. I mean, even under the best of presidential or gubernatorial or mayoral leadership, there's always disparities and challenges that are impacting our communities, and we have to put our armor on and fight on behalf of our communities. Sometimes the fight looks like one thing, and sometimes it looks like something else. And so I know my fellow Black press publishers are very concerned about the current administration. I am as well too. I tell my team, I've been telling my team this, since last year. We don't know what our future holds, but I will say this much: you've got a leader. You guys have it in DC at the Informer. You got a leader who's committed to making this work. And to making sure, like Denise says, we get, to 2026 and we get to 2027. And we do it in a way that does not sacrifice the needs of our communities or our own staffs as well too, making sure that they're healthy and encouraged and supported to do the work that they're being called to do. So
Thank you. Lafayette, how about you? What's the role of the Bridge and the Black press at this time?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's the role that it's always played is just, being a platform and a voice for, people who aren't in the mainstream. The Bridge, our goal is to highlight young influencers, change makers, and community members, entrepreneurs in DC, who typically don't get the recognition that we believe they should. And so whether as was stated, like no matter who the president is or what the sort of political situation is, that always remains our goal, and that community seems to always be the underdog. So we'll continue to do that. And honestly, the less that the mainstream enjoys or the less that the mainstream pays attention, the more opportunities there are for us, because what I often see happening is mainstream businesses sort of piggybacking on the ideas that, African Americans or minority communities come up with. So if they want to go one way and we want to go another way, that's fine. It just creates less of a, I guess, competition for us. So I really don't see major issues. Obviously, there are funding issues, but that's why, we need to tap back into our community a bit more and make sure that, we double down on their support.
Love that. Love that. Lafayette said, let them go left. We're going to go right. I really appreciate that. Miss Denise, how about you?
Well, I can just say ditto, ditto, because I really want to. But Misha, as you know, and we talked about this today, one of the things that we wanted to do here in DC, because it's not only Black press, it's just Blacks in the media. And we play a vital role, and people, need to understand, no matter who we work for, we play a vital role in our communities. And at this point in time, I think everybody is suffering from, I don't know if it's news fatigue or what's going on, but our journalists are in a state at the moment. We're not, I don't think, in the Black press, but others are. We've come through the worst of times, and these are not any worse than the times that we've come through. And we just have to keep reminding ourselves of that. And no matter who's in the White House or who the executive leadership is, or as Larry was talking about, the political leadership, we have a job to do. And so, I mean, if it gets to the point where we're publishing on Xerox paper or whatever we're doing, as Lafayette said, we have to look at how we strengthen our media outlets, and not depend upon the social platforms that, everybody's using, but we can build our audiences, continue to build our audiences. I feel pretty good right now. And I feel like, the doors of opportunity are still open for us. And we just have to be as creative as we've always been, to keep those doors open. So I'm optimistic, and I'm going to stay that way.
We could talk this life's work like for hours. So I mean, I literally just called Denise just the other day. We just started talking about some stuff, and I just, it's encouraging to be around like-minded people, no matter where they are in their journey. I look up to Denise tremendously, with the work that she's been doing, the staff that she has. I love the fact that, it seems like so much of her staff is of a generation of, millennials and Gen Zers. And that's really fun and refreshing and encouraging as well too, from my perspective. So, don't get me talking. This is my life's work. This is my passion. So I could talk Black press all day and all night, but we won't do that. But love you guys. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say there might have to be a part 2 though, Larry, because it's been a great conversation.
But congratulations to the Informer for 60 years of tremendous service to the DC community. You guys keep up the great work, and love watching 3,000 miles away the work that you guys are doing. And I'll be in DC for Black Press Week, but I won't unfortunately be able to make it to the anniversary.
Well, you celebrate with us always, so thank you, Larry.
Well, his celebration was enough to last us all for a couple of years, because
right?
They got the red carpet for the folks. They came from near and far to celebrate the Sacramento Observer's anniversary. And it was a wonderful, wonderful affair, and a lot of work Larry put into that, but it was a great event.
And I'm eternally thankful for Denise coming all the way out to Sacramento to join us for that anniversary.
Oh, that's
so
I'll yeah.
Never forget that.
Nope.
Yeah.
And I would just say, visit wibridgedc.com, visit WashingtonInformer.com, sign up for our email blast, and there'll be some perks coming down the line. So just stay in tune.
And thank you, Misha, for, I mean, this is not your first rodeo. You spent time at the Afro, so, and we can't, 130, I forget how many years, but 100 and some odd years. So, we appreciate your commitment to what we do.
Remember to go to WashingtonInformer.com for all things news and happenings, and to Win60Legacy.com for the Washington Informer 60th anniversary celebration.
Where did you come to get all you